Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another video. I know it's been a little while since I uploaded, but I have been pretty busy in my personal life. Like I've gotten a few interviews over the last 2 weeks, so hopefully something cool happens from that and I'm working again. But aside from that, this video is pretty much going to be about me testing out Facebook's boosted listings, and I really wanted to see this for myself to see if it was actually worth it. I mean, I can't bash something if I've never really tried it before, so in this instance I did give it a shot, and I'm going to share my results with you because I don't think there's very much of this type of content out there. So I'm gonna give you guys kind of my experience of what actually happened, the type of items that I listed. It's gonna be a really small sample size of 4 items, and hopefully it helps you decide on whether you find it worth it to try out Facebook Marketplace's boosted listings. All right, so the first item that I decided to test out were these 20-inch Corgi Squishmallows, and I had 4 of these. I bought these at Costco at what price? After taxes, $15.81. And originally, they were posted on Facebook for maybe about like a week. They ended up getting 11 views on their own. The reason why I chose this item was because, I had multiple quantities. I ended up buying 4 of these, like I just said, and I really wanted to be able to maximize the conversations and the selling that I could get from these listings. So, for example, if I did really get lucky with one person who wanted to buy it, I would have another one ready to go if I got multiple offers and multiple people interested. So that's the main reason why I wanted to choose this item. So according to Facebook, they call it a campaign, and it's basically how many days you want the item listed for a specific price. And I chose to do 3 days, $2 per day. So in total, I would be spending $6 Canadian. And they said I would estimate about 144 to 415 reach per day, which in total would have accumulated to 432 to 1,245. Just so we're all on the same page, when Facebook says reach, that actually doesn't mean views. Reach is more about like impressions or just like visibility. So if if someone's scrolling through Facebook Marketplace or just like somewhere else on Facebook, it'll show the ad on there. So that's kind of what is meant by reach. When they say the official term of link clicks, that just means how many actual views you got for that item. Now, what actually happened was day one, I got about 1,600 reach, and for views, I ended up getting 53. Yeah. Then day two, I ended up getting 1,510 reach, and then for the views for that day, I ended up getting 57. And then on day three, I ended up getting 1,133 reach and 40 views. So on the third day as well, right at the end, I think it was about an hour before the whole campaign was going to finish, I did get 2 people messaging me, but unfortunately, it just didn't really go anywhere. It was kind of one of those, is it still available? I explained my part, like where I'm located, and then just radio silence. So the quality of conversations wasn't really there. In total, it was 2 conversations started, 4,238 reach, 150 views, and yeah. The second item that I decided to try boosting were a bunch of movies, both new, used, and both DVD and Blu-rays. I had this on Facebook Marketplace for about a week, and I'm really sad to say that it got 0 views. This item actually performs a lot better on eBay, so I'm going to use everything that I did to prepare this because I probably spent about 40 hours in labor. I lost a lot of information. I was filming it because I was going to make my own Side Hustle Shuffle episode about this. But yeah, and I lost my phone, so I lost just about 95% of the footage, and I lost a lot of drafts that I had created. If you're ever on eBay, be aware that if you don't constantly update your drafts, they will disappear probably about after a month. So you got to keep that in mind. I did not know that, and I lost a lot of my time. So going back to everything, the reason why I chose this item was because I had 526 of these movies. So, it makes sense to boost something like this because, there's going to be, if there's a lot of people interested, this will go quick. Unfortunately, even after the boosted listings, it was still at 0. I ended up having this for 3 days, but it ended up becoming 1 day because I decided to cancel it after I saw no progress. And so the amount of time that I chose to have this campaign for was essentially a day at $2. And the estimated reach was 144 to 415, like the other item. The third item that I decided to go with was a lot of Paw Patrol toys. This one had probably about like 12 different vehicles and figures all combined together. And the reason why I chose this was that this lot was essentially all profit for me. I did sell all the other lots that I had built together, and I got my money back from those. So that's why I ended up choosing this type of item. It was just essentially all gravy. For performance, I had this thing listed for about a month, and I think in total it ended up getting somewhere around 100 to 200 views. It's kind of hard to track after you pass a week. So that's kind of what I remembered seeing from all of this. And for performance under a 1-day boosted listing for $4, because I wanted to see if there was a difference between, 1 day $2 and 1 day $4, the results that I got was actually very similar to what I would have spent for 1 day at $2. And so for the reach, I ended up getting 1,463. There was one conversation that did get started, but it didn't go anywhere. And for views, I ended up getting 36. Technically 37. Someone gave me a post reaction. I didn't even think you could do that, but apparently it's possible. So they must have just hit a like button somewhere. The fourth item that I decided to boost was actually an item that did not need any boosting at all. And it was a gramophone made by Restoration Hardware. So these items were extremely old tech that were hard to get your hands on. I ended up finding it at a thrift store. And yeah, I think I bought in at it for $28.24. From this though, the reason why I chose it was because it had the engagement, and I wanted to see how an item that was doing really well, where people really wanted it, comparing it to items that were struggling on the low popularity side, like the movies, the corgis, and the Paw Patrol lot. I wanted to see how the variance would be on that. But originally, this was getting 1,119 views on its own, and it started 17 conversations, a lot of them with serious buyers. But unfortunately, most of the time when they found out that it wasn't compatible with their devices, they're like, oh crap. And so that was kind of the story. With this item, I decided to do a campaign of 1 day for $4. And then from there, what ended up happening as a result, I ended up getting 1,061 reach. And then for views, I ended up getting 62. From that 1 day campaign, I actually did get 2 offers. One of them was radio silence after they initially asked about it. And then the other one actually was an offer for $75. I decided I would take it because of a couple reasons. I really needed the money to spend on some other stuff I was purchasing. So I decided to do that. And then the other reason was because of kind of like I mentioned before, where it was really hard to find the right buyer. So this guy decided to just buy this, and then he was going to go find an old device that was working with it because he didn't have one. So yeah, that was the main hurdle that I had to get over, and I just decided, you know what, I'm going to just sell it. So in conclusion to all of this was a really small sample size. There were a lot of factors I didn't involve, time of year, pricing, how long things have been listed, but even though that was the case, I still think there were a lot of useful things that we could draw from this. And I think the biggest thing is that items, that need the boosted help aren't actually going to benefit very much from it. You're only going to get a little bit extra views and maybe, a few conversations started, but I don't think it's actually going to help the way that you would think it would. And the items that don't need boosted listings help will basically just sell on their own, especially if they're good quality items and they're very popular in people's interests. So that's kind of the big takeaway from all of this. 2 other conclusions that I actually did notice from this, and take this with a grain of salt, but it does seem like if you do boosted listings, it makes more sense to do multiple days at a lower cost. So taking a look at the comparing of the corgis and the Paw Patrol lot, the performance actually was a lot better for the 2 days, because when you look at the day one of the corgis and the day one of the Paw Patrol lot, they were actually just about the same. So I got double the results for the corgi in comparison. And so that's why I'm saying that I think it makes sense to do that. But I think there's also a point where if you do too many days of the campaign, that there's diminishing results from it. So based off the corgi information, the first 2 days were pretty consistent, averaging around 1,500 for the reach. And then for the views, it was about 50. And then eventually on the third day, it dropped to about 1,100, I think. And then for the views, it dropped about 10 to 40. So that's something to keep in mind. One other interesting thing that I noticed comparing the gramophone, which was like a high popular item, versus the corgi versus or the Paw Patrol for low popularity items, there wasn't that much of a difference in boosting. So on the variance level, the low end of views, I ended up getting about 36 to 62 at a max. And then for reach, and the low end was 1,000, and then the high end was 1,600. So comparing, items that were very popular versus low, they didn't really feel like there was that much of a difference. So all in all, I spent $16, got 5 conversations, and only one of them being one that actually made a sale. And I didn't even get it for the price I was asking. I ended up taking a lower offer. And the item that I did sell was an item that really didn't need any boosted listings help at all. So in my opinion, is it worth it to use Facebook Marketplace's boosted listings? And I honestly think it's not. My opinion actually is a little bit more extreme now, thinking that, this actually doesn't really help as much as they want you to think. So that's just kind of where I'm coming from. But anyways, hopefully that's helpful to you guys. I'll see you guys later.